I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares?
Get dishonorably discharged. Candace Owens' advice to military service members is probably the dumbest, least honorable thing I've ever heard. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we call out lies, hypocrisy, corruption, and help spread the light of truth and freedom, because truth conquers. Now, someone who I like, Candace Owens, I think she has a lot of great things to say, and I think she said one of the dumbest, least honorable things that a person in America could say while speaking about a potential war with Iran. Obviously, we've bombed their nuclear sites, but obviously there's potential for a forever war with them, which I'm certainly not a fan of. On her video podcast, she was answering a question, and she's encouraging service members, go ahead, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Well, it's a felony, and it's the least honorable thing service member could do. I mean, this is what, in my opinion, it sounds like a stupid, uninformed person would say. You don't want to do that. Like, yeah, don't do that. Like, just don't. Who cares? Get dishonorably discharged. I know she's not a stupid person, but this is a very stupid thing that she said. We'll take a look at the video clip. We'll take a look at the comments underneath. I didn't see any that weren't highly critical of her. And then we'll take a look at, well, what are the consequences if you get dishonorably discharged? It's a felony. It's just not good. Like, who cares? Well, you should. It's deserting your fellow troop members. Last thing I'll say before we take a look at this short clip, there's a time and a place where if you're a soldier involved in a military with a tyrannical regime, yes, there's a time, you hope it never arrives, but there's a time where you put your life on the line, your honor on the line, you put everything on the line in order to do what's right. That's not a war in the Middle East. That's not the time. The time might be, all right, we want you to go point guns at U.S. citizens who maybe they're not being obedient. Yeah, that's maybe the time and place. Just like our founding fathers, they betrayed their country. They didn't do it lightly. Things were bad, and they were willing to risk their lives in the name of what's right. If they didn't win the War of 1776, they would have been absolutely treasonous. So it's like the military code, based on what I know from friends who are in the military, the number one code is you never abandon your troops. You never abandon your brothers and sisters. And Candace Owens' advice is just flippantly like, I don't like this war. So yeah, if you're in the military, you should get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Well, I care. And I think a lot of patriotic people care. And honestly, I think a lot of people in the military, they care. If you're not a general, it's not yours to say what wars we fight and don't. And I'll be the first to say, I think a lot of the wars are unnecessary. I think there's just corrupt reasons we're in them. But if you're a service member, your duty is to follow orders, whether you agree with them or not. You're not a general making decisions which wars to get into. You're a service member. That's what they signed up for. They're there to follow orders. That's necessary for a strong military. That's necessary for a strong country. Now let's see what Candace Owens had to say as she was answering a viewer's question.
LG19 writes, serious question, will there be jobs or community military members can join when I get a dishonorable discharge for not contributing to delete people or my body for the interests of a certain foreign nation benefit? I love this question. I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares?
Who cares? I just like it. Like, oh, you don't like that show? Stop it. You don't like her? Stop hanging out with her. Who cares? This isn't really who cares territory.
Who cares? Why should you go die in a foreign land? You now have the benefit of 2020. You can see, think about those men and those women who died because they were pitched that they were serving their country because there were weapons of mass destruction. Right.
I agree. And that wasn't the war of 2020. That was 2003 Iraq. But I agree. You look back and there were military members who lost their lives for zero good reason. I 100% agree with that. Yet her solution to that is just get dishonorably discharged. I don't agree with that.
They were serving their country because the Taliban, they were serving their country, whatever. And these people gave up their lives And ask yourselves for what? And the answer to that question is for the elites.
I doubt that was in their mind. Why are you putting your life on the line? I don't think that's what they were doing it for. Why are you putting your life on the line? For the elites. No, I'm guessing their reason for putting their life on the line for honor, for God, for America. I'm guessing most service members weren't doing it for the elites. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, Joe Rogan's well known for his MMA fighting, being in really good shape, and doing quite well health-wise at his tender age of 56. And if you remember, he bounced back from an illness, COVID, CNN didn't like it, really fast in 2 or 3 days, so he knows how to take care of himself. One of the supplements he's mentioned and talked about is NMN. Rather than me trying to explain it, I'll let the doctor that discovered it explain it.
I also take supplements, and in fact most of my colleagues are in the field of aging, or anti-aging as people call it. So I take NMN every morning.
What is NMN?
Good question. So let me take a quick step back.
Sure.
So about 20 years ago, Lenny Guarente and a team of us at MIT discovered a set of genes that controls aging. And what they do is they protect all organisms on the planet, plants, bacteria, humans, from deterioration and disease. They're like the Pentagon. They sense when we're hungry, sense when we're exercising, and they send out the troops to defend us. And so we think that these genes are responsible for the effects of dieting and exercise, which is great. What that means is we can now mimic that with molecules.
I feel like I should make a shopping list.
So with this, you get improved energy, weight management, endurance, strength, and anti-aging. For me personally, I really notice it's improved my skin. There's lots of videos on YouTube where people are talking about the positive effects NMN has had on their blood tests before and after use. Seems like everyone who takes it, they feel better, they're stronger, and they have more energy. So go check out Black Forest Supplements NMN. It's in my daily protocol, has been for a long time, for a reason. By the way, when you take NMN, it causes your body to start producing NAD, which gives you all those abilities you had when you were 18, which you tend to lose when you age. Check out NMN, where Black Forest Supplements is offering a 48-hour only deal. Buy 2 bottles, get 1 free. Take advantage of it now by going to blackforestsupplements.com/JP. That's blackforestsupplements.com/JP to get your NMN. Now back to the video.
You're like toy soldiers. And I would have said a few weeks ago that Trump would never do that to you. He would never just throw you into an Israeli war. But right now, our planes are flying in the sky and things are going nuclear. So I don't have that confidence anymore. And I'm comfortable with people being dishonorably discharged because the dishonor has come from our politicians. The dishonor has come from our politicians who routinely lie in our faces and are willing to let us die to serve their financial interests.
No, I'm not going to disagree with that.
So why don't they dishonorably discharge themselves from public office?
Politicians dishonorably discharging themselves from public office. I agree with that. I don't agree with service members. Here's my advice to you. Get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Who cares? Well, in a second, we'll take a look at what happens to you if you're dishonorably discharged. But first, let's take a look at what some of the commenters on this video had to say. Cat Turd says, what a POS. Use your imagination on what that means. Disgraceful. She's the worst. It's potentially a felony. Yeah. Another comment. That's the thing. She couldn't care less. She's a POS. No soldier in the U.S. Army should fight in these pointless, forever regime change wars. Candace Owens is absolutely right. I'm guessing that's the woman that wrote that. Do you know what a dishonorable discharge does to someone for the rest of their lives? This is absolutely terrible advice. She should stay in her lane and avoid discussing anything related to the military. Here's one. This is pretty meaningful. My husband was a combat vet in Vietnam. We all know how unpopular that war was. He was shot and almost lost his life. Yet he would never for a moment entertain such a foolish suggestion to disobey his CIC. He believed his service meant something, and he loves his country. And I agree with that. Me thinking this is just Candace Owens, freedom of speech, has the right to say this. And I have the right to say that is one of the least honorable pieces of advice I've ever heard. And that's coming from someone who's, we look at an ongoing war with Iran. I am not for that. And I'm certainly not for get yourself dishonorably discharged. So what happens if you do follow Candace Owens's advice and get yourself dishonorably discharged? Well, you get discharged, and then what happens is Who cares? Well, the law cares significantly. That's who cares. And you might care about the consequences that are imparted on you if you were someone following her advice, which, by the way, you might also care about the oath you took when you enlisted in the military. But here it is. Dishonorable discharge from the U.S. military is the most severe type of punitive discharge and is typically the result of a general court-martial for serious offenses. Here's what happens if someone receives a dishonorable discharge. Conviction of a felony level offense under a Uniform Code of Military Justice. The discharge is equivalent to a felony record in the civilian world. The individual loses all military benefits, including healthcare, education benefits, retirement pay, VA home loans. Civilian life impact. Criminal record may show up in background checks. Barriers to employment, especially with government jobs, law enforcement, or jobs requiring security clearance. Loss of gun ownership rights. I didn't know about that one. Ineligible for veterans' burial honors. May have trouble voting, depending on the state. A dishonorable discharge is, by definition, a very unhonorable thing. I have the utmost respect for any military service member, whether they're active duty or veteran, that I've ever met. They sacrifice tremendously, not just risk their lives, some lose their lives, yet what they sacrifice in their personal life to serve our country is one of the things I hold in the highest respect. So with that said, I think this is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard Candace Owens says. She says some brilliant things. This is the opposite polarity. I think it is terrible advice, and I think it is incredibly dishonorable of her to even say these words. That's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our next video. But until then, stay honorable.